And Sam, I'll just get you up and ask you a question. Is that all right? Now, you're talking about anxiety this morning. Do you want to tell us of the many operations you've actually had performed on you over the last few years? Which one stressed you out the most?
I've had like 10 operations like in the last 5 or 6 years. And this morning when I got asked that question, I shared one operation, but I actually think there was another one more stressful. I went for a routine knee arthroscopy and then it got infected and complicated afterwards. So they put me back in hospital for 16 days. I was in bed rest. It was like falling down a hole, but you didn't know where the bottom was and when you could climb back out. And I remember when I came out of hospital, I had a tiny leg and it was stiff and I couldn't bend it. I thought, oh my gosh, like I'm 50 something. This could be it. This could be, I'll be walking, with a stick for the rest of my life.
So what happened in the end?
I don't know. The body's amazing at healing. Yeah. And, I work 1 or 2 days a week as a doctor and the body's amazing because as surgeons, we actually don't do anything except put the bones back together and somehow they find each other. Or we put, arteries or tissues back together and they find each other. Even my brother who's a hand surgeon says, it really is a miracle. Just the recanalization of vessels, how 2 blocked vessels can find each other and just reattach.
Okay, well, we're great. We're glad you've recovered from that. Thanks, Sam. Now, Sam's going to be speaking to us in a moment, but he's actually asked that a small section from the biography of Jesus' life written by Luke be read for us. I'm going to ask Susan to come down and read to us, and I'm going to ask her, here you go, Susan, you can use this microphone. It's ready to go. And I'm going to ask Susan just to explain the work that you've been doing in Parramatta until recently.
So I was working in...
That's right. Hold it there.
Yeah, in Telstra and as an agile coach. And an agile coach basically is more saying as a mindset coach, and we kind of help and coach teams to perform better and to collaborate better. And currently I'm taking a 1-year sabbatical. Okay, I'll read the passage. Luke chapter 10, verses 38 to 42. As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. She came to him and asked, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me." "Martha, Martha," the Lord answered, "you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her."
Well, it used to be really easy to listen to music in your car. But these days, you have to get your phone to sync to the car stereo. And that takes forever. And just when you finally get it synced and working, your wife will come in and her phone will kick your phone off the stereo. And then you're arguing over whose music you're listening to. I'm saying, this is coming from your phone. But she says, no, it's coming from your phone. I said, no, it's coming from your phone. And then so finally, she gets her phone off the stereo. My phone is back on the stereo. And then she'll make a phone call and brr, brr, it kicks my phone back off. And I'm thinking, oh, when did things get so hard? So welcome again to our Feb Talks. We're doing a series called A Road Map to Life. Today is week 3, talk 3, and we're looking at anxiety. How do I escape anxiety? Because things have become so much harder. You know, it's amazing. They say there is an anxiety epidemic in Australia right now. But if you could pick any time to be born in the world, it will be now. We live longer. We own more things. We have free Wi-Fi and McDonald's, but somehow we're more stressed, we're more anxious, we're more depressed than before. So our question is, how can I escape anxiety? And it's going to come in the form of a 15-minute talk from me now, followed by some question and answer from you guys. Well, let's look at this question. What are things that empty our mental fitness tank? Because mental fitness is a spectrum. It's not like this on-off thing. You're either sick or you're well. It's a spectrum. So what are things that empty our mental fitness tank? And here I suggest 3 things. Number 1, we live in a meritocracy and a culture of perfectionism. A little while ago, I ran in a Sydney marathon, but early on in the race, I thought, you know what, I'll go to the toilet. It's a long race, you know, you'll be all right. But when I came out of the toilet, there was no one around me. And I found a race official and I said, where is everyone? He sees the number on my chest. He goes, are you in the race? I go, yeah, I'm in the race. He says, you are last. You are dead last. There's no one around you. I thought, how about that? I am last, like out of thousands of people. I'm the guy coming last. That is not easy to do. But they didn't give me a trophy. They should have given me an award, a medal, but they don't. Why? Because it's a meritocracy. You have to earn your trophies. You have to earn your awards. And we live in a meritocracy where we have to earn our degrees. We have to earn our jobs. We have to earn our success. And we're told we can be anything we want to be. So we need to be perfect. So we have to make the perfect sourdough. We have to have the perfect body. We have to have the perfect holiday. We have to have the perfect job. We have to have the perfect family to show off. And again, we are told we can be anything we want to be. So when we don't succeed, well, that's because we didn't try hard enough. Number 2, we have the fear of missing out. We're always searching. We're always looking. We're always restless. Every New Year's Eve, it's the same. It's the most underwhelming day of the year because we're always looking for the perfect party, going from party to party, but never finding what we're looking for. We're restless. And this is how Sarah Wilson describes her life. Sarah Wilson wrote this book, First We Make the Beast Beautiful. Sarah Wilson was the editor of Cosmo. She was behind the I Quit Sugar campaign. All these campaigns were successful, but she says she's always restless. She struggles with anxiety, and she says anxiety is like this. You're a dog that can never find the right spot on the cushion to settle down on. So you're always restless, circling the cushion. And we're the same. We're always looking for something that's not there. We have this fear that out there is someone more interesting than what's in front of me right now. And even if we find what we're looking for, it's underwhelming. It's unfulfilling. This is Jill Stark. She's an Australian journalist, Australian writer. She's just reading this book, Happy Never After. And it describes her experience when she wrote her previous book, and it was a bestseller. And when it became a bestseller, it sent her into a spiral of depression. And apparently this is really common with authors. They find what they're looking for, but it's not what they were looking for. Number 3, our lives are maxed out. We cannot squeeze any more into our lives right now, but our lives still demand more. This is a nose wax kit. Yes, it's a thing. And I'm thinking, oh, it's hard enough to get ready in the morning, and this is one more thing I have to do now. I have 3 young boys, and we are maxed out. Monday night is martial arts. Tuesday is clarinet lessons. Wednesday, it's AFL training. Thursday is band. Friday is cricket training. Saturday is Saturday sport. And even then, someone will say, they're not doing Chinese. They got to do Chinese. They have to do a foreign language. Otherwise, the 2 parts of the brain don't talk to each other. Someone else will say, clarinet, that's not a real instrument. They need to learn piano. I'm sorry, but the clarinet's just 1 clef. Piano, you learn 2 hands and 2 clefs. So even then, we are maxed out, but we don't feel like we're doing enough. Our lives are more maxed out than they used to be. When I was a junior doctor in the 1990s, this is what a mobile phone looked like. It was the size of a car battery, and only 1 doctor could take home the hospital mobile phone, the head of the department. Only 1 doctor was on call. But now we're all on call. We're constantly available. And in families, both partners are working, both are commuting, both are doing the school drop-off, both are doing the childcare pickup. And weekends are worse. Because of Sunday sport, there's more traffic on the weekends than on the weekdays. So we turn up to work on Monday exhausted from the weekend. So what can we do about this? What are things that will fill our mental, fitness tank. Well, we just heard a story from the Bible, and it was about two sisters called Mary and Martha. And they decided to host, to entertain, to invite Jesus into their home. Now, every year when I do these talks, I go through the internet and try to find a picture of what Jesus would look like if he came today. This year, I've been going with this picture because I think this is what Jesus would look like if he came here today, because he wasn't Anglo, he was tanned, probably a little bit podgy because he did like his eating and drinking according to the Bible, little edgy, little iconoclastic, cutting edge sort of guy. So Mary and Martha invited him over to their home for a meal. But Martha, she's so stressed out getting the food ready, whereas Mary is just chilling, being present, enjoying talking with Jesus. And this just stresses out Martha all the more. And Jesus says to her, Martha, Martha, Martha. So what can we learn from this story? Well, I suggest 4 things. Number 1, we don't have to be perfect. Things don't have to be perfect. You know, when children draw, it's not perfect, but there's a playfulness in it. There's fun. But when adults draw, we can't draw like this anymore. And I asked an arts teacher, why can't we draw like we used to do as kids? And he said, children have a playfulness. We lose this playfulness when we grow up. We become literalists, perfectionists. We forget how to just enjoy the drawing. We have a culture of self-perfectionism. This is Will Storr, UK secular journalist, writer. I love quoting him. He's written a book called Selfie, How We Became So Self-Obsessed in the West and what it's doing to us. He says we have created this culture of perfectionism, where and it comes from this unchallenged mantra that we have now in the West. And the mantra is this: I'm perfect, and you need to accept me just the way I am. And it sounds great, but the unintended flip side consequence is this: it's created a culture of perfectionism where I have to be perfect, I have to appear perfect, and it's created stress and anxiety. Whereas Jesus and the Bible flips it around. It's the opposite. Jesus is perfect, so I don't have to pretend to be perfect. And Jesus accepts me for who I am. So it doesn't matter whether others accept me, it doesn't matter whether I accept myself. Jesus accepts me just the way I am. And this leads to peace, shalom, and rest. Number 2, only control what we can control. In sports psychology, they call this control the controllables. Only control what we can control. When my wife drives, I'm a horrible passenger. I'm sitting there going, oh, you should be in this lane, not this lane. Why are you going this way? I would have gone this way. What are you turning right here for? I would have turned left. And I need to relax. Just control what I can control. Put the seatbelt on, play with the visor if you have to. But she's in control. She knows what she's doing. Trust her. And in our lives, we've actually only got 3 choices. Choice number 1 is this: nothing's in control. My life is out of control. Choice number 2, I have to control everything. Or choice number 3 is, you know what? I just control what I can control, and I trust that God has everything else under control. And you know what? That's the one that makes most sense, because if you think about it, we can't control most of the important things in life anyway. We can't control what family we get born into. We can't control what country we get raised in. We can't control what schools we get sent to. We can't control what questions come up in the exam. We can't control the economy. We can't control the health of our parents. And if we're okay with that, that's okay. Just control what we can control and trust that God has everything else under control. Number 3, and I got this from number 3, practice healthy habits. And I got this from a podcast I just listened to, Bigger Questions, episode 177 with Dr. Jenny George. And she answers the question, how can I be mentally fit? And she says a lot of things, but here are a few of the things she just says. These are some healthy habits that we can program into the rhythm, into our lifestyle. And they make sense: sleep, exercise, mindfulness, outdoors, giving, thankfulness, purpose, meaning, forgiveness, prayer. But I was thinking about it. These things make so much more sense if there is a loving, powerful God behind the universe. That's why these things make sense. You know, sleep and exercise, well, God has made us physical, where our bodies do matter. Mindfulness, that's what Jesus is telling Martha. Just be present. Do what Mary's doing. Enjoy the moment. Outdoors, well, this makes sense if there's a creator God who has programmed beauty into the universe. Giving, being generous, well, this makes sense if there's a giving God who's behind the universe. Thankfulness, everyone says, oh, thankfulness, thankfulness, thankfulness. But this only works if there's someone to give thanks to. Purpose and meaning, as we looked at last week, this only works if there's a design, if there's a designer behind the universe. So I know where I should be and where I should be going. Forgiveness. And this only works if there's a God who forgives us in the first place, so we can forgive. And prayer and meditation, well, this only works if there is more to this universe than just atoms and molecules, if there's a person behind the universe. And number 4, what is your ultimate value? And we all know this trick when we travel in dangerous places. We carry a fake wallet with nothing valuable inside. So if someone steals it, well, we only just lost a fake wallet, but we still have what's of ultimate value hidden away somewhere else. A few years ago, my brother borrowed my car and he had an accident. And when he rings up and tells me, the first thing I wanted to say was, is the car all right? But we all know, no. What I meant to say is, are you all right? Because the car is replaceable. It's of no value, but my brother is of ultimate value. And what Jesus is telling Mary and Martha is this: I am the one that should be of ultimate value in our life, in your life. There's a God who loves you, who made you. There's a God who wants to save you. He has sent us his son, Jesus, and in enjoying the moment with Jesus, in enjoying his glory, in worshiping Jesus, and being present with Jesus, we have someone of ultimate value. So do you remember our original question was this: anxiety, how do I escape anxiety? Well, my 3 boys love playing Minecraft, and you may know this, but in Minecraft, there are 2 different modes. There's a survivor mode, and survivor mode is just crazy. There are zombies, you can fall down holes, there are sharp sticks, and you can die in survivor mode. But there's also another mode called creative mode, where you just enjoy the game. You just make, you create, you use your imagination, and you make beauty happen. And our lives are the same. We can choose the mode we want to be in. Do we want to be in survivor mode, where we have to control everything, where we have to, achieve success, meritocracy, perfectionism? Or can we be in creative mode, where we say, you know what, there's a creator God behind this universe, and he has made me to enjoy him, to worship him, to enjoy his glory, to be imaginative, beautiful, creative, and to enjoy the moment. Thanks. Peter, back to you.
Well, thanks very much, Sam. We'll let Sam just have a drink of water for a moment. And this is where it's over to you. So it's your chance to ask questions. So you'll see there there's a phone number on the front of your sheets. So you can just text your numbers to that. We've already got some questions coming in. Or if you're at home on the Zoom screen, there's a chat function there. So fire your questions in. You'll also notice the QR code, which I mentioned before. There's some other options there you might like to fill in. Okay, Sam, are you right?
Yeah.
Okay, up you come.
Let's do it.
All right, we've got some questions here. About this idea of Jesus being perfect. I don't get how Jesus being perfect works for me. I mean, doesn't that just make Jesus like the good-looking kid who gets A's and is the captain of the school and sports teams, blah, blah, blah? That just makes me look like an even bigger failure.
Right. So the dynamic is, as Will Storr says in Selfie, we've created this culture of perfectionism where we say, I'm okay, and you need to accept me for who I am. And it sounds great, but it actually creates a culture where I have to prove I'm okay, prove I'm perfect. And even if you accept me for who I am, I actually still find myself hard to accept for who I am. And we actually looked at that 2 weeks ago when we looked at who am I, why do I matter? But Jesus flips it around, and the Bible's message is this. Jesus' message is this. Jesus is perfect, so we don't have to pretend to be perfect. I'm not okay, and that's okay because Jesus is okay. Well, why does that change everything? Because somehow we can rest in the status of Jesus, enjoy his status as a child of God, perfect, innocent, and we enjoy that status. And also we know he accepts us for just the way we are. So I don't have to be perfect, but he loves us too much to leave us the way we are. So in us, his spirit in us, bit by bit, changes us to make us more and more into the person we want to be and the person that God needs us to be. But all it means is God comes looking for humble people, not perfect people. And I guess once I'm okay with that, I don't have to be perfect. That's okay. And you know, that question is a little bit tongue in cheek because, you know, why Jesus is the popular one, the good looking one. But actually, the Bible says he wasn't. You know, he wasn't popular. He wasn't very impressive to look at. Yeah, he would have been short, unimpressive. So, but somehow it's the status that we enjoy with Jesus. You know, a child of God, perfect, innocent. And because of Jesus, I find acceptance and belonging, which is really what we're after. It's one of the primary human needs: acceptance, belonging, and identity.
So, Sam, can I ask you, has there been
Sure.
a time when you've actually just had to actually admit that you're not okay and ask for God's help?
Oh, many times. I've had two significant moments in my life where I burnt out in my career and I had to see professional help for about a year. So that's definitely a moment where can I humble myself and say, I'm not okay. I need professional help. Also, another big moment in my life, and I shared this 2 weeks ago, was when I had to make a decision to leave full-time medicine and go into a full-time professional Christian ministry. And in the Asian circles, you know, if you tell an Anglo, I gave up medicine to go into ministry, they go, oh, yeah, you do whatever makes you happy. Yeah, you know, you do you. You tell an Asian you gave up medicine, they go, oh, like that. You're giving up status, identity. You go to a party as a doctor, everyone wants to talk to you. Bank managers want to talk to you. They want to give you their money. You go to Christian ministry, no one wants to talk to you at a party. Like they do not want to talk to you. And bank managers don't want to talk to you either. They're not going to give you any money. And so actually it took me 10 years at least, minimum. So when someone said, what do you do for work? For at least 10 years, I used to say, I used to be a doctor, but now I'm in Christian ministry. Now I can finally say, you know what, I'm in Christian ministry. And every now and then I work as a doctor where I hold a leg for a surgeon, where I'm right down the bottom of the hierarchy. And, you know, actually it's liberating. So, you know what, I have status, I have belonging, I have identity in Jesus, not based on my achievements, not based on my job, not based on my trophies, not based on my possessions. And as we said 2 weeks ago, those things are never-ending game anyway, because doctors are profoundly insecure people because there's always more they could be doing to climb up the mountain.
You're not going to say that lawyers are like that, are you?
No, lawyers are perfect.
Okay, all right. Okay.
I wish I was a lawyer.
There's
My
a
next life, I want to come back as a lawyer.
Okay. There's a question that's filled with pathos from Melbourne, and it's kind of to bosses. I mean, to those who are suffering under bosses. I know there's a few bosses in this room, so we'll have to be careful here. All right. You say I don't have to be perfect, but I have a demanding boss and job, and I want to do well. But Jesus can't do my job, so I still feel under pressure. Have you got anything to say on that?
For sure. You know, I have this saying, not every boss is a narcissist, but every narcissist will find a way to become a boss. So there's a very good chance you are working for that narcissist, toxic bully. And that's one of those horrible, broken realities of life. And so we just got to remember, control what we can control. So don't let their emotions affect our emotions. Don't let their behavior affect your behavior. Don't let their toxicity affect your status before God. You know, I have perfect belonging in God. Now, that's the ideal world, but they're going to be horrible. They're going to be demanding. And that's where the Bible gives us this comfort. It says, you know what, in Colossians chapter 3, work as if for Jesus. Jesus is your real boss. You're doing this for him. And it says he sees everything. So he will make sure you get what you deserve, and he'll right all wrongs. There will be justice. There will be fairness in the end. and just control what you can control. Trust that Jesus has a wisdom and purpose behind this. And the Bible is full of stories of people with horrible bosses, like Joseph in Egypt, who ended up in a dungeon for 10 or 15 years. You have Moses before Pharaoh. Daniel in Babylon. Daniel and his three friends end up working for the king of Babylon, who was a micromanager, even changed their names, control what food they eat. So there is a pattern in the Bible.
Okay. All right, we're just going to move on in a moment to a question about the broken world.
Sure.
But I just forgot to mention that some people might like to jot a question on a piece of paper, and someone will come around in a moment and pick it up if you'd like. So this is a question following on from this idea about the world being broken. How do you trust God is in control when a brief look at the world suggests that he isn't? For example, famine, COVID, coups, war, and so on.
Yeah, so there's only a few choices. We can say, you know what, there is no God. That's why all this crazy stuff happens. It's just random. But something in us senses no, because I can sense what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong, what is fair, what is unfair, what is just, what is not just. There must be something that transcends this moral order. So I sense it isn't just randomness, because, death and sickness is wrong. This is not the way it should be. So there must be a good, loving God behind this universe. And the fact that I cry out why means he must be a powerful God who can do something about this. So evil is not an illusion. Evil is not fair. It's not karmic justice. That's what makes evil and suffering suffering. It's unfair. It's disproportionate. There's too much of it, and it's too broken. So then at this moment, we go say, well, I'm only sensing this because there must be a loving, powerful God behind this universe. But if that's so, I just got to trust there must be a loving, powerful reason behind what's going on. I don't know what it is. And it must be so loving, so powerful that even Jesus enters my world and suffers alongside with me. And there's a chapter to come. And somehow Jesus is part of the solution. And I was just listening to a podcast where someone became a Christian. She was Asian, and she said, Jesus makes more sense of suffering than her Asian mythology, because in Asian, you're taught to, it's an illusion, it doesn't exist, get over it. And even the picture of Buddha, he's quite comfortable. He's distanced himself from it, and he's managed to just remove himself from it. Whereas the picture is Jesus suffering in agony on a cross. And so, you know what? That's a God who gets me. Rather than God say, I'll get over it. Now, this is a God who comes and he's in pain and agony alongside with me. So there must be a reason why this is happening. And this is somehow part of the solution. The story I often give is, as a parent, the hardest thing is when you take your kid to a doctor and they have to get that needle, that vaccination, and your kid just looks at you in horror. How could you let this happen to me? And it's only a brief moment, because they look at you and they size you up. Your kid sizes you up. You know what? You're my dad. You love me. You want what's best for me. Up until now, I have every reason to trust you. So I don't know why there's a needle in my arm, but I'm just going to have to trust you